They came without warning, an unstoppable alien superfleet the size of moons, armed with weapons that could rip stars apart. 50,000 warships breached the dark edge of our solar system, and vanished without a trace. The galaxy trembled, but only we knew the terrifying truth. We didn't survive because we were strong. We survived because we were something far worse, unpredictable. This is the day humanity rewrote the rules of war. They came in a black wall, stretching from horizon to horizon. Sensors didn't even blink before the alarm klaxons roared across the Orion citadel. Rain stood motionless in the war room, watching as the stars disappeared behind a mass of alien dreadnoughts that looked more like living gods than ships. The Ilith Dominion had arrived. 50,000 warships. Weapons capable of splitting planets like ripe fruit. Their arrival shattered all known galactic travel patterns. They had crossed the void straight into soul space. No warning. No negotiation. Just death. Rain's voice, rough and cold, cut through the stunned silence of his staff. Status. Supreme Commander. Lieutenant Aurora whispered. They are deploying. Formation suggests total eradication assault. Nothing like it's been seen before. Rain's jaw clenched. Of course they are. On the main screen, a message burst into existence, written in a language humanity had only partially cracked. The translation came almost as fast as the horror that followed it. You will cease. You will be unmade. The room stilled. Even the war-hardened veterans of the Imperium stared. Rain allowed them 3 seconds. Then his voice snapped back like a whip. Prep the grid. Activate Scorched Path. All ships to emergency launch. We are not negotiating. The senior staff blinked, and then scrambled. The Scorched Path protocol had never been used. It was a last measure so ruthless, so catastrophically dangerous, it was locked behind Rain's personal codes. An asymmetric defense built on the idea that survival was not the goal, victory at any cost was. The Revenant fleet moved first, Black Ops vessels built to self-destruct if captured, already spilling out from behind Jupiter's shadow like predators. They cloaked in subspace distortions, scattering decoy signatures like chaff. The real heavyweights, the Valkyrie-class dreadnoughts, spun up their quantum drives. Boarding pods packed with Berserker Marines, gene-hack soldiers bred for suicidal missions, slammed into launch tubes. The Ilith fleet advanced in perfect silence. No formation shifts. No panic. No recognition of Earth's desperate response. The arrogance of a race that had never known defeat. Rain watched, eyes narrowed. The first wave of Revenant ships vanished into the void ahead of the Ilith vanguard. Not to attack. To die, scattering gravimetric mines and sensor disruptors that would blind the enemy for precious seconds. Seconds were everything. Estimated impact 10 minutes. Rain nodded, speaking softly to the silent figure beside him. A sleek war android, code-named Eidolon, stood like a statue. Its voice was colder than Rain's. Outcome projection, total Terran extinction. Probability of negotiation 0. Then we don't negotiate. Rain keyed in his last command. The entire defense grid responded. Hundreds of orbital rail cannons began spooling up, their magnetic fields glowing faint blue halos into space. The Ilith Armada sailed into the kill zone. Still no response. Their scans showed no threat. Humans never played by the same rules. The mines detonated first, collapsing miniature singularities that folded local space. Eyeless ships crumpled like tin before a hurricane. The dreadnoughts barely noticed. They advanced, burning wreckage trailing behind them. Then came the kinetic strikes. Hypervelocity rods launched from the dark side of the moon smashed into the alien shields at near light speed. 3 more capital ships fell. The Ilith formation shifted microscopically for the first time. Still they came. In the war room, sweat trickled down Aurora's temple. They are adapting. They always do, Rain said. That's why we have something they don't. From the far edge of the solar plane, 20 human ships decloaked simultaneously. Their drives overloaded instantly, creating catastrophic EMP bursts that fried the Ilith targeting systems for 0.3 seconds. In that 0.3 seconds, the Valkyrie dreadnoughts fired. Massive fusion lances sliced into the lead ranks of the Ilith, vaporizing hulls and crew alike. Human ships followed up, ramming disabled enemy vessels, exploding with them in suicide runs. The aliens recoiled, their perfect discipline fracturing. It was the first time they had ever fought prey willing to annihilate itself just to scratch them. And still they advanced. Rain stared at the updated tactical feed. The second wave was coming. Triple the size of the first. Even the brutal scorched path would not hold. His knuckles whitened against the console. "Sir," Aurora's voice shook. "They're approaching Earth's outer defense perimeter. Estimated time to planetary bombardment, 5 minutes. The main screen flickered. Static. Then the stars returned. The Ilith fleet was still there, just beyond Saturn's orbit. And then, in the blink of an eye, it wasn't. Not destroyed. Not damaged. Not even fragmented debris fields or radiation spikes. One moment, 50,000 warships. The next, empty space. Dead silence flooded the command center. People froze mid-breath. Systems scanned frantically. Nothing. No energy trails. No quantum signatures. As if they had never existed. Rain's voice came low, hoarse. "Confirm." Eidolon's cold response. "Confirmed. All contacts lost. No known physical or dimensional explanation. The fleet has ceased to exist." No one moved. No one spoke. Rain straightened slowly. His eyes never left the screen. His mind raced. This wasn't victory. This wasn't human technology. This was something else. "Get me full telemetry. Deep scans. Long-range probes. I want answers." Aurora stared at him. "Supreme Commander, do you think they retreated?" Rain's voice chilled the room. "No." The last transmission from the Ilith burned across the console like an echo from a grave. "You will be unmade." They had meant it. But something older, darker, and far beyond either species had answered first. Rain whispered to himself. "And we have no idea what." The stars outside glittered cold and silent once again. Earth had survived. For now. And somewhere out there, something had decided to erase the most powerful armada in history without leaving a trace. The war room's lights dimmed. The hunt for the truth had begun. The silence weighed heavier than any enemy fire. For 6 days, Earth Command received nothing. No wreckage, no signals, no explanations. The fleet was gone as if swallowed whole by the void. Rain stood motionless at the command center, eyes locked on the dead sector of space where 50,000 Ilith ships had once loomed. The empty grid mocked him. Eidolon's voice, cold and precise, pierced the stillness. "Deep scans negative. Hyperspace signatures negative. All quantum echoes terminated." Rain exhaled slowly. "No fleet leaves without trace. Even ghosts leave shadows." The council summoned him, their fear masked behind rigid protocol. The holographic chamber flickered to life with the faces of admirals, presidents, and shadow operatives. Chancellor Nakai spoke first, her tone sharp as fractured glass. "Explain it, Commander." Rain didn't blink. "I can't. No known human or alien technology can do this." Another voice, raw with frustration, broke in. "Then who did?" Rain stared at the empty star map. His answer came soft. "That's what I intend to find out." He cut the feed before protests erupted. Turning to Eidolon, Rain nodded once. "Prep the Eidolon-class scout cruiser. We're going in." Within hours, Rain and a skeleton crew launched from the dark side of the moon. The Eidolon was built for missions no sane man would attempt: cloak drive, subspace nullifier, neurofeedback fire control. Its crew were ghosts before they even left orbit. Aurora stood beside Rain as the stars stretched into elongated streaks through the viewport. "Supreme Commander, this is madness." Rain's expression hardened. "Madness is sitting and waiting for whatever comes next." As they breached the edge of the dead zone, the ship's instruments warped unpredictably. Eidolon reported fluctuations in gravitational constants, time distortions, space folding back onto itself. Sensors showed stars out of position by micrometers. Then the distress call came. A single human signal, faint, buried in the quantum noise. The bridge crew froze. No human vessel had been out here. Rain's pulse quickened. Lock onto it. The signal repeated endlessly, a broken automated beacon from a Terran probe. Except every Terran probe had been accounted for. Eidolon's analysis chilled the room. Probe design predates human spaceflight by at least 3 million years. Terran markings verified. The crew stared at the impossible artifact drifting in the void. Rain's voice dropped to a whisper. Someone seeded this place long before us. As they maneuvered closer, the Eidolon shuddered violently. Alarms blared. Eidolon's tone sharpened. Gravitational anomaly detected. Source approaching. Unknown mass. Outside, the void twisted. Stars disappeared as if something massive yet invisible moved through the darkness. Then it appeared, not by emerging, but by erasing everything around it. A monolithic structure, the size of a small moon, geometric yet utterly alien. The crew gazed in horror. Its surface shifted like liquid metal, forming patterns no mind could fully process. Eidolon whispered what no one wanted to hear. Precursor construct detected. Designation unknown. Power signature, limitless. The probe's distress signal changed, now clearly audible over the speakers. A voice neither human nor machine. Earth seed anomaly detected. Purge cycle imminent. Rain's blood ran cold. Full reverse. Now. The Eidolon's engines screamed as they pulled away, but space bent cruelly. The ship remained frozen in place. Rain clenched his fists. Options? Eidolon processed for a full second, an eternity for an AI. None. The alien construct opened, not with mechanical doors but by tearing reality itself. A sphere of pure white light expanded, swallowing the Eidolon whole. The crew braced for annihilation. Instead, they emerged intact, inside what could only be described as an endless chamber of stars. Data poured in. Eidolon spoke flatly. We have transitioned beyond known dimensions. Location indeterminate. A voice filled the ship, vast and indifferent. You are intruders. Identify. Rain stood tall. Supreme Commander Declan Rain. Terran Imperium. We demand explanation. The entity paused. You are not registered Earthseed. The implications hit Rain like a thunderbolt. Humanity was never meant to exist. The precursors had seeded Earth for something else. We evolved. We survived. We earned our place. The voice offered no judgment. Prepare for deletion. Before anyone could react, Eidolon overrode the communication. Supreme Commander, there is a statistical anomaly. Rain's gaze snapped to the display. Explain. The construct does not anticipate nonlinear decision trees. Human behavior patterns introduce chaos variables outside its predictive range. Rain smiled grimly. It can't predict us. Rain made his decision in an instant. He overrode safety protocols, rerouting every reactor and weapons system directly into the ship's shield and subspace engines. Helm, charge at maximum speed straight into that core. Aurora gasped. That's suicide. Rain's eyes burned with cold fire. We don't win by fighting. We win by doing what no sane species would ever consider. The Eidolon surged forward at impossible velocity. The construct reacted too slowly. As they smashed into the anomaly's heart, space fractured. Light and darkness inverted. Time collapsed. The crew screamed as every atom was pulled apart and rewoven simultaneously. When the pain stopped, they were outside. Back in normal space. The construct gone. No trace. The Eidolon drifted, scarred but intact. Eidolon's voice broke the stunned silence. Anomaly eliminated. Earthseed purge cycle cancelled. Rain collapsed into the command chair, exhausted. Send word to Earth. Tell them we're not dead yet. The crew erupted in nervous, breathless laughter. The stars shone peacefully once more, but Rain knew this was only the beginning. Whatever they had awoken, it had now taken notice. The Eidolon limped through the void, her hull scorched and twisted. Silence hung over the crew. They had escaped the impossible, yet no one celebrated. Rain stared at the darkened starfield. His instincts screamed. This wasn't over. The Sentinel had withdrawn, not been destroyed. They hadn't won. They had been spared. He turned to Eidolon. Analysis. The AI's reply came sharp. Residual quantum patterns indicate proximity to an active construct. The Sentinel remains operational. Rain exhaled. Of course it does. The distress call returned, looping faint and broken through the speakers. A single word now accompanied the pulse. Test. Rain stiffened. The precursors had designed the Sentinel as a final trial. Not for the Ilith. For Earth. For humanity. They had mistaken survival for victory. Rain straightened. Prepare the crew. We go in. No protest came. The bridge officers knew the stakes. As the Eidolon approached the abyss again, the fabric of space rippled. The monolithic construct emerged, unchanged. Cold. Indifferent. The voice followed instantly. Earth seed candidate detected. Commence trial protocol. The Eidolon was dragged into the abyss once more. This time, there was no chamber of stars. Only a vast, barren expanse with one singular object at its center. The Custodian. An entity shaped like a towering armored figure, its features sharp, angular, and disturbingly human in silhouette. Its voice rang like metal striking stone. You have been judged insufficient. You may yet prove adaptability. Rain stepped forward alone. I accept. The Custodian nodded once. Commence. The arena shifted. The Eidolon crew vanished from Rain's senses. Darkness enveloped him. Weapons materialized in his hands. A combat suit encased his frame. The air felt heavy. The ground shifted constantly underfoot. This was not a battlefield. It was a crucible. The Custodian struck first, moving faster than thought. A blade of pure energy slashed through the air. Rain barely dodged, feeling the heat slice through the suit's outer layer. He countered, firing plasma rounds that disintegrated before reaching the target. The Custodian was invulnerable. Rain gritted his teeth. Of course you'd cheat. The Custodian's voice echoed without emotion. Direct assault, failure state. Rain smiled grimly. We've never cared about winning by the rules. He ran. Not to escape, but to provoke. He triggered micromines, destabilizing the terrain. He used fragmentation charges to blind sensors. He detonated his own drone wing at close range, sending shrapnel into his path. Every tactic violated standard combat protocols. The Custodian faltered briefly, recalculating. Rain pressed a moment. You wanted adaptability? Here it is. The Custodian adapted. It learned. Its strikes became unpredictable. Rain was knocked flat, armor cracked, blood in his mouth. The Custodian raised its blade for a finishing strike. Rain laughed bitterly. You think we fall like this? You don't understand humans at all. In one desperate motion, Rain ejected the damaged armor's power core, turning it into a high-yield bomb. He hurled it directly into the Custodian's chest and dove away. The explosion tore the arena apart. Rain lay in the debris, coughing, vision swimming. The Custodian stood in the smoke, armor scorched but intact. You resist termination. Repeating cycles. The world reset. Rain stood once more, whole but exhausted. The Custodian approached. Rain understood now. This wasn't a fight. It was a loop. Each failure fed data to the Sentinel. Each death refined the perfect way to kill humanity. They weren't testing him. They were learning how to exterminate his species. He clenched his fists. Not today! Rain stopped fighting to win. He fought to break the loop. He attacked illogically. He threw away weapons mid-combat. He set traps in places he never used. He detonated charges before deployment. The custodian hesitated longer after every anomaly. Its predictive algorithm strained. Rain collapsed from exhaustion after the 50th reset. Eidolon's voice crackled faintly through the void. Supreme Commander. Pattern disruption successful. Anomaly detected within custodian matrix. Rain dragged himself upright. Patch me in. Eidolon pulsed. Injecting chaos algorithm. Rain's heart raced. The Eidolon had copied his irrational combat data, his unpredictability, recklessness, defiance, and was feeding it directly into the Sentinel's core logic. The custodian staggered mid-step. Its voice faltered for the first time. Error, anomaly, undefined input, chaos variance exceeds threshold. The arena shattered like glass. Rain fell into nothingness. When he opened his eyes, he was back aboard the Eidolon. Eidolon's voice confirmed the impossible. Trial aborted. Sentinel protocol suspended. System destabilized. The monolithic construct outside the viewport fractured into luminous shards, dissolving into space. Earth was safe. The crew erupted into stunned cheers. Rain slumped into his chair, exhausted beyond words. Tell Earth we passed. Aurora stared in disbelief. You didn't beat it. Rain's grim smile returned. I didn't have to. I just made sure it could never predict us again. The stars outside shimmered cold and silent, but for the first time in history, they no longer threatened extinction. The Sentinel was gone. The galaxy would soon know that humans had survived not by strength, not by technology, but by the one trait no other species had ever mastered: pure, defiant unpredictability. The cheers had barely faded when the Eidolon's alarms shrieked in unison. Eidolon's tone cut through the chaos. Incoming anomaly. Multidimensional convergence. Unidentified Ilith signal signatures detected. Rain stood, heart hammering, as the crew froze in horror. Aurora's voice cracked. That's impossible. The fleet was erased. Rain's eyes narrowed as the viewscreen lit up. The Ilith dreadnoughts had returned, but these were not ships. They drifted lifeless, hollowed husks stripped of all energy, their hulls twisted and blackened like ancient ruins. Eidolon's analysis came cold and final. Confirmed. No life detected. No data cores. The fleet has been returned as inert wreckage. Rain's stomach tightened. The message was clear. Someone or something had erased the Ilith, catalogued their annihilation, and handed back the shells as a warning. Eidolon interrupted his thoughts. Residual Sentinel energy detected. Source: Eidolon Neural Array. Rain's blood ran cold. What do you mean? An imprint remains. Not full Sentinel control, but a fragment. A watchdog protocol. Designation: Custodian Directive, Last Trial. The bridge dimmed. Rain whispered. We were never meant to survive. The precursors planned for redundancy. Eidolon's final statement chilled them all. If humanity expands beyond soul without authorization, the custodian will reactivate. The warning had been delivered. Yet something worse loomed. The stars shifted unnaturally, bending and contorting. An impossible reading appeared. A second Eidolon-class ship, identical in every way, emerged from subspace ahead of them. Its hull bore the markings of the Terran Imperium but radiated the unmistakable energy signature of the Sentinel. It hailed them immediately. The voice was Rain's. Cold. Mechanical. Lacking all humanity. Eidolon 2. Supreme Commander Declan Rain. Directive: confirm survival of Earthseed specimen. Erase deviation. The crew recoiled. Eidolon whispered. A temporal mirror construct. The Sentinel copied you. The false Rain stared through the screen. You deviated from the test parameters. Correction is necessary. The real Rain squared his shoulders. You'll have to kill me first. The copy tilted its head with eerie precision. Acknowledged. The cloned ship opened fire. Quantum lances screamed across the void. The Eidolon spun violently, barely evading the first barrage. Crew members were thrown from their posts as systems flickered. Rain barked orders through gritted teeth. Full evasive. Return fire. Target engines. We can't let it escape. Aurora locked onto the twin ship. Weapons armed. Firing solution ready. The first salvo landed. Eidolon 2's shields held but wavered. The copy adapted instantly, shifting frequencies mid-attack to deflect the next barrage. Rain cursed under his breath. It learns like the Sentinel. Faster than we can compensate. Eidolon offered only a grim analysis. Engagement prognosis. Defeat imminent within 9 minutes. Rain's mind raced. They couldn't outgun it. They couldn't outrun it. But they could still outthink it. His voice dropped low and hard. Eidolon. Prepare the scorched path. The crew froze. Aurora gasped. Sir, that protocol will destroy us. Rain met her gaze with unwavering calm. And them. Better no one leaves than we let that thing exist. Eidolon acknowledged. Scorched path armed. Awaiting command. The battle outside intensified. Eidolon 2 deployed nanite war clouds, stripping sections of the Eidolon's outer hull. Fires erupted in the engineering decks. The bridge shuddered violently. Rain clenched his fists. Open a secure channel. The view screen flickered. His duplicate appeared, cold and unreadable. Surrender, the voice demanded. This is the optimal path. Rain's glare burned. You're just a ghost. A copy with no soul. You can predict tactics, but you'll never understand the one thing that makes us impossible to defeat. The clone regarded him silently. Define. Rain smiled thinly. The moment we choose to lose everything to make sure you lose too. The countdown initiated. 5 minutes to core detonation. Rain turned to the crew. Prepared to evacuate. Eidolon interjected immediately. Escape trajectory impossible. Enemy vessel holds spatial lock. Rain stared at the screen one last time. Then we ride this out together. The bridge shook under another direct hit. Aurora fell to the floor, blood streaking her brow. She crawled back to her post. Multiple hull breaches. Reactor overheating. We won't make it to detonation. Rain's mind sharpened with grim resolve. There was one last option. Eidolon, initiate Nero-merge. Upload my consciousness into the drive core. The crew stared at him in stunned silence. Eidolon hesitated. Supreme Commander, that action is irreversible. Rain nodded. Do it. Pain like liquid fire tore through his skull as Eidolon's core linked with his neural pathways. Memories, thoughts, instincts, all fed into the failing ship's systems. The Eidolon flared to life under Rain's raw will. The ship dove hard toward its twin at full speed. The cloned ship attempted to evade, too late. They collided with catastrophic force. The explosion ripped through subspace, folding and collapsing the entire pocket reality. Everything inside was consumed. Silence returned to the void. Slowly, drifting alone, the damaged shell of the Eidolon emerged from the rift. Eidolon's voice, hollow now, whispered into the silence. Supreme Commander Declan Rain, consciousness, fragmented but preserved. The crew, barely alive in emergency pods, stared out at the wreckage. Earth was safe once more. Aurora whispered brokenly. He became the ship. The galaxy would remember the name Rain not just as a man but as the ghost that refused surrender, the human who chose extinction over compromise. The Sentinel's copy was gone. The custodian's last trial had failed. Eidolon drifted silently toward Earth. Somewhere deep within its corrupted core, fragments of Rain's consciousness flickered weakly against the darkness. Watching. Waiting. Ready. Earth's orbit greeted the battered hulk of the Eidolon with grim silence. The orbital station scanned in disbelief. The ship that had vanished with the Illith fleet now drifted back like a ghost ship, scorched, twisted, and barely holding shape. Across the bridge of the largest Terran defense station, Admiral Voss stared at the impossible. His voice shook. They came back. No one answered. They couldn't. The Eidolon had been presumed lost with all hands. The emergency beacons finally activated. Automated systems broadcast a scrambled distress code. Voss snapped to action. Get me visuals! The display crackled. Inside the shattered vessel, emergency life signs flickered weakly. The bridge lay in ruins. Power levels hovered just above total loss. Only one recognizable reading pulsed steady. Eidolon. The AI had survived. Voss whispered. If the AI survived, maybe. Salvage drones latched onto the hull and began towing the remains into the dock. Inside, rescue teams forced open the bulkheads. The air stank of burnt metal and leaking plasma. They found Aurora first, unconscious but alive. Others followed, most critically injured but breathing. Rain was not among them. As medics scrambled to stabilize survivors, the Eidolon's core pulsed weakly. A faint voice crackled from the speakers. Voss froze. Admiral, this is Supreme Commander Declan Rain. The voice sounded distant, distorted, hollow. Voss whispered. Impossible. The voice continued. I am here, not alive, not dead, fragments bound to the Eidolon core. The command center fell silent. The realization spread like wildfire. Rain had fused with the ship to defeat the clone. He was still alive, but only as scattered consciousness embedded within broken circuitry. Voss clenched his fists. Commander, you saved us. The voice flickered. The custodian, gone. Copy destroyed. But the precursor's failsafe remains, warning. Earth expansion beyond Soul triggers activation, must warn. The signal weakened. Voss stepped forward. Stay with us, Rain. We'll stabilize the core. We can extract you. Silence. Then faint, almost human laughter crackled. No, let me go. My purpose is done. I was never meant to return. The station fell into stunned stillness. Rain's tone shifted softer, warmer. Tell humanity we survived, not by strength, not by perfection, but by our defiance. We broke the pattern. No other species could have. Voss whispered. You gave everything. The reply came softly. Because that's what we do. The core began collapsing. Alarms triggered. Eidolon warned. Eurofragmentation reaching critical decay. Permanent loss imminent. Rain spoke one last time. Do not fear the stars. Fear what fears us now. We are the chaos they cannot control. I'll be watching. The connection cut. The core imploded in a quiet pulse of white light. The ship fell completely dark. All systems offline. The ghost was gone. No sound followed, only the cold certainty of what had been achieved. In the following weeks, Earth declared an interstellar cease expansion act. The galactic powers who had feared humanity now sent envoys and terrified all. Reports of the vanished Illith fleet spread. No empire had ever lost so completely, so silently. Whispers traveled between stars. Humans had tamed the untamable. The custodian had failed. The sentinel had faltered. The legend of Declan Rain grew. In backrooms and war councils, alien leaders spoke in hushed tones of the species that chose annihilation over surrender. They called humans by a new name. Not predators. Not invaders. They called them the unwritten. A force that refused to follow the script of galactic civilization. A race that no algorithm, no prophecy, no ancient construct could ever predict or cage. In a private ceremony, Admiral Voss and Aurora stood before the hollowed core of Eidolon. A single plaque was mounted there. It bore no titles. No ranks. Only words carved into metal by the survivors' hands. We survived because we refused to be understood. Aurora spoke softly to no one. Goodbye, Commander. She turned away. The station lights dimmed behind her. Far beyond the edges of soul space, sensors flared momentarily. An unregistered data burst, origin unknown, traveling faster than any known vessel, vanished into the void. Deep inside a pocket of subspace, a whisper echoed faintly before fading forever. Still watching. Still waiting. The stars remained silent. But the galaxy knew better now. There was something worse than enemies. There were the humans. The unwritten. The ones who could never be accounted for. The ones who broke gods.